Hi, everyone.
Recording. All right. Hey, everyone. Are we good?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, welcome to the Office 365 Pulse recording. We moved it later in the week because a little birdie told us there would be announcements coming, and sure enough, announcements came yesterday. Microsoft Viva. However, Viva did not make it to the roadmap. So there you go. I was expecting Viva to be all over the roadmap. Viva did not make it to the roadmap. So maybe next week, but we can still talk about it for just a couple of minutes. We had Microsoft Viva. It was Viva Learn, Viva Topics. I don't even remember all four of them, but basically you've got employee statistics, so workplace analytics. You've got Viva Topics, which is formerly Project Cortex. That's where you can do the AI, and then Viva Learn, which is going to be where you can go in and do learning inside of a Teams app. And what's the fourth one, guys? The fourth one?
Knowledge management?
Yeah, which is the Cortex, the topics.
Oh, okay.
And then the internet one, the communities or something.
Yeah, the community.
So it's very, very cool stuff. It's the employee experience. So the details are still coming out on what all the pieces will be, but really cool stuff if you're looking for that. I think a lot of large organizations will be very interested in that. And I know that we will see more things coming, although nothing hit the roadmap with it. So I thought that was kind of funny. I expected to see it all over the roadmap.
But all I can say is when I watch the video of the person going through her day using those pieces, I don't care about any of those four things. I want the holographic.
That's what we kept saying.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, there's whoosh whoosh, yeah, like I want that. I want that.
And we were laughing at the clocks because she got out of bed and then she went to the kitchen to get her coffee, and like 2 hours passed, and then she walked. But only like 3 seconds elapsed in the video. And then she walked from her kitchen to start her workday, and another 3 hours had elapsed. And so we were like, wow, that took a long time to get ready and make it to her living room. So we were laughing at stuff like that. And then hologram meetings were posting all over. And I was like, this is the future.
I think my favorite line that Satya had thrown out was the thing of, with everything going on these days, I don't know whether I'm working from home or whether I'm sleeping in the office. I'm like, I like that.
I thought it was funny. It was neat to see how they were bringing a lot of the tools that they're already using, bringing them together for a new way of working together. So while I don't know the names of the specific things they've done, I think that's because they just kind of rebranded things they're already working on and doing. So I think it's a great way of bringing the technology already together. I think the team worked great together to bring it together, to bring all the pieces. So I'm super, super excited about it. So we'll keep seeing more and more and more about it. But going back to the roadmap, we have a ton of stuff in development. So I think I'm going to let Tamara kick us off and talk about the goodness that is in development this week.
Okay, well, I found something interesting in Excel, and that's track tasks with @mentions. So now in Excel, you can use the @mention in the comments to create, assign, and track tasks in your workbook. And that's coming out in March of 2021. I would also like to say that there are much better tools to track your tasks in than Excel.
Too funny.
Let's scare anyone else, because some people are now never going to leave Excel.
I know. They open Excel in the morning and they close it at night. And that is their entire life. And then Microsoft Teams, GCC, and GCC High and DoD got a little love. They're revising the share experience within Teams. So the user interface for the in-meeting share feature in Microsoft Teams has been redesigned to help presenters find their desired content more quickly and easily. So I think that's going to be dipping into that AI stuff and pulling up the content that you have most recently interacted with, that other people have worked on with you, so that that is presented within the meeting to make it easier to present.
Good. Awesome. Tom, what do you have?
So I got a couple things. I've got more than that, but I'll just hold to a couple things for right now. One, Outlook on the web, do file search in compose mode. I saw this hit the roadmap just recently in the message center. But what's happening is if you're using Outlook in the web, what you can do now is in the body, you can do a /. And what it will do is it will give you a list of suggestions of files, either in OneDrive, SharePoint, sticky note things that you can pick and choose to have added to your email. I think that's really cool, and it'll be interesting to see how it does the AI to say, hey, it looks that Clippy, it looks like you're trying to compose a resume. Would you like to attach a resume to this? It's going to be that kind of thing, I think. So I like that feature. I'm looking forward to trying it out. The other thing that I saw a little further down in the list was, where was it? I can't find that one, but there's one other one that oh, there we go. Office 365 dictation improvements in Word and Outlook, including voice commands. So they're going to have a new user interface and settings to control a profanity filter. Oh. And automatic punctuation. Voice commands make editing and formatting your dictated text easier than ever. So again, for people who may not have a keyboard available to them, or they may feel more comfortable for longer dictation efforts, just being able to talk and get it to show up on the screen and then do light editing, I think this is going to be a really cool thing, both for Outlook and for Word. So
I think it's going to be great for brainstorming, because I don't know about you, but I'll be brainstorming with somebody and you'll say like the most perfect thing. And then they'll be like, could you repeat that so I could type it? And you're like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Once it left my mouth, it's gone.
Yeah. It's That's out great. Of my brain.
Well, I have two for forms that I like. Specific user sharing for response collection. So to collect a response from specific users or security groups. So that's great, that you can kind of narrow it down. And then shorten a URL when sending forms to collect a response. This one's great. Right now, the forms, when I'm sharing it internally, they're long, they're cumbersome, and people are looking at it and this is a really long form, especially then when you have to type it into Teams to get it, and it's just confusing, and then people can't cut and paste, and then it just causes more questions than it creates value. So I'm very happy about the shorter URL. So thank you. The more we're using forms, somebody says, maybe that URL doesn't have to be so complicated. Thank you. Thank you, Microsoft. So that's in development. So excited about that one. Adam, what do you have going on in development this week?
There's a ton of updates around MIP, around AIP, around Compliance Center. I'm not going to go into all of them. Most of them are kind of small incremental things. Stuff like, oh, hey, cool, we're changing it so now you can do thing X. One of the things I thought was cool, to give you an example of the type of stuff that it is, in your audit logging, you're now going to be able to tell if people opened a mail attachment, which is kind of cool. So not just if they access the email, but if they actually open the attachment that was a part of it too. So I guess it's kind of helpful if you were trying to get an idea of what happened or track down some events. The other thing that I thought was worth noting, just because I've experienced this in commercial and thought it was good, the audit retention dashboard, which is basically a one-stop shop for if you're doing audit policies, is now available in the GCC clouds. It's going to be available. It's in development, but that's something that's made it definitely easier to manage audit policies and audit retention policies in commercial. So seeing them rolling it out and seeing the love coming to the GCC is always something we want to see.
Awesome.
I have one more for in development, and that is Microsoft Teams. Share to Microsoft Teams from Outlook. I think this is brilliant, and it's coming in March. And this is, you can send a copy of an email message or conversations, including the attachments, into Teams chats or channels, and start a team chat related to that specific email message. So this is going to eliminate the reply email storms that happen in Outlook, because you can take that email, send it into Teams, have the real-time conversation with people about what's ever in that email, and come to a resolution in like less than half the time. I've got somebody who's doing this at a client right now. He's like, nope, every time I get one of those reply all emails, I pop it into chat, I email out the link, and then we all hop into chat and we can resolve that issue in 10 minutes. What used to take us 2 and 3 days to resolve through a reply all email chain. So I'm
Great way to
really
change
excited
behavior.
about that.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely
a great tool. Somebody can say, ooh, this really should be in Teams. And then there's going to be a great way to get it there.
Yeah,
exactly.
So there's one that I have here that I think is going to be fun. That is for Outlook on the web, reacting to an email message. You've had the thumbs up, which is great, but they're going to add some additional things on there. So you'll have love, celebration, laughter, surprise, or sadness. I'm a little miffed that they didn't have the little poop emoticon, because that is how you want to respond to emails sometimes. However, I think it's nice
that it's
our own good that it's not there, Tom.
Yeah, you do that on your last day of work. That's a career limiting.
Poop. Yeah, but I think it'll be nice to have, again, if you just want to do that quick little, how do you feel about this? Above the thumbs up, to have some additional things that go in both directions of the emotion spectrum there.
Awesome. That is cool. There's another one coming to Word and PowerPoint and different things like that, and it's around commenting. And so it's a way that you can not send your comments, and they're going into the flow of how you're sending comments to co-authors so that you don't get the notifications too early, and you can kind of send it in the natural flow of it, which I've noticed that we were working on a document this week, and people were sending me comments through PowerPoint, but every page they commented on, I was getting an email. And they were you could tell they were doing it and almost multitasking, because it was over a 2-hour period that they were going through this PowerPoint.
Awesome.
And instead of getting like one email that says, hey, here is all my comments in this document, I was getting random spurts of like, here's one comment on one slide. And I was like, this is a little bit more annoying than it is helpful. Of course I can go open up the document later and look at it. And so just kind of looking at that workflow process, I think that's going to be a good change. And so I think they're just kind of looking at it, seeing how people are using the tools, and then making it a more delightful experience. So excited to see them kind of looking at that one for us. All right, anything else? And I think there's some syntax stuff. Go ahead, Tamara.
I will add Microsoft Teams branded lobby. So admins will now be able to add a custom logo to the team experience for display in the lobby and meeting pre-join experience. The logo will be displayed for meetings where the organizer has the advanced communication SKU. I think this is great, especially with people attending so many meetings, wondering if they're in the right meeting. Having that logo there, knowing that they're in the right environment, I think is going to really help, especially if the organizer for the meeting doesn't join right away. So I think that's a nice experience, and I think everybody on any marketing team is going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're part of multiple tenants, to make sure that it's like, am I in the right tenant? Am I not in the right tenant? Would make a lot of sense.
Well, I'll cover the syntax ones really quick. The document understanding model, dynamic explanation templates, the retention labels for form processing, taxonomy columns for modern library views, GCC availability in June, and then we also have extended language supports for the form processing and search inside of the training files while building documents. And so all of that is in development now. So Sharepoint Syntax is part of I guess some of the Viva stuff is here because that's topics. So Viva topics, Sharepoint Syntax, formerly Cortex. So if you're one of the early adopters that is using this, and the general availability. So it did go general availability with the announcement yesterday. Those are some of the features that they're working on. If you're in GCC, important for you to note June. So looking for a June for general availability there. So exciting announcements there. And then if you're digging into it, those are some of the other changes that they're continually working on for you there. So then anybody else have anything for in development? If not, we can move out and we'll start with Tom on the next session, which is the rolling out category. So these are the features that are starting to hit your tenants now.
Yay. So when I was going through here, I saw a lot of things that we have talked about in the past. So rather than do a repeat, I'm going to do a repeat. There is one item here that I just wanted to bring out because, again, I think it is a really good change that is going to make forms more user-friendly, and that is you're going to have text formatting in your questions. You're going to be able to do bold, italicize, underlines for forms and quizzes. Straight text is fine. Sometimes you need that bold word. You need something italicized. You need some, bigger, smaller, whatever fonts. This is going to be out there. It says coming in January of 2021. So there may be a good chance you already have it out there, but definitely check and start to incorporate a little bit more text-friendly options in your forms, surveys, and quizzes.
Awesome.
Great.
Go ahead, Tamara. What do you see in here that you like?
I see SharePoint and Teams getting better together. Updated, add a team to a site wizard. So that means Microsoft wants to make it easier to use and connect the value of SharePoint and Teams. So people use SharePoint Teams site homepages with dynamic web parts like mini dashboards for group content like pages, news, links, documents, group activity, and more stuff. And it's all configurable. And so they want to choose the SharePoint content that you want to add as tabs in Teams when you first connect them via the Add a Team flow from your site. So that just rolled out in December and is available to everybody worldwide. GCC High, DoD, GCC, Germany. Germany gets called out on its own. I don't know why, but Germany gets special attention.
Because they have, Germany has data requirements, and so their data center has to follow different rules around their data. So that's why they're one of the data centers that's always on a different release cycle.
Good to know. And then
Random
Microsoft
facts.
Teams, they're updating how many people you can have in an individual team to 25,000 members. This is going to be great for our bigger clients, bigger customers who have hundreds of thousands of employees to have this 25,000 people per individual team. I would really caution you in.
I never thought people would need this until I got to a scenario where
you needed
legitimately needed this, and I was like, I'll be darned. You really
there
do
it
need
is.
a 25,000 person team, and you really do need that announcement to go to all of these people.
I would say do not use the Meet Now feature for that.
Oh, yeah, that would be bad.
So that's one caution. Yeah. That's all I have for rolling out.
Yeah, well, I've got one that if you're looking for this, you're probably really excited about it. Microsoft Visio, Azure icons for Visio in the web. So if you're using Visio to diagram your servers and your different things like that and your configurations, if you are using Azure, I'm sure you're very excited to finally have those icons there. It's the small things that make us happy. So I'm sure that, there's a server admin somewhere that is very happy that those are there now. And those are rolling out. So Adam, I do see some admin-y type things. So why don't you take it away, sir?
Yeah, so there's a couple things in here that I like. Probably my favorite one in here is they have rolling out what's called Application Guard for Office. So how it essentially works, you can think of this as like a maturation of what they did with something like safe links or safe attachments. If you have the Office 365 suite and you happen to have E5 licensing as well, how Application Guard essentially works inside of the desktop Office clients is it basically compartmentalizes an actual hardware location on your computer that's separate from everything else that's on your computer. And when you go through to open up files, it actually opens it up in this compartmentalized section. make sure that there's nothing harmful on it, make sure that there's nothing malicious on it, stuff like that. And once it knows it's good, you can interact with it as normal. But the idea being, say you actually get a file that has a virus on it or something like that, that's going to be some sort of Office application. Well, if you would have opened it in the past, you would just have a virus, or you'd, hopefully you had an antivirus that would go through and check it. But this is essentially a maturation, like I said, of something like safe attachments or safe links, where it's actually giving you a separate section in your hardware scoped through on your computer because you have the Office suite, that's basically going to make it so if you open up something malicious, you're not infecting your whole computer, essentially. I think it's a really cool concept and a really cool idea.
Very cool.
Besides that, they have a couple other stuff that's just coming out that is not necessarily groundbreaking, but stuff that's probably worth knowing. They have, if you're in small business, I thought this is something that could definitely be useful. So if you're a Microsoft small business, so you're not on the enterprise side of the house, they're coming out with some simplified views in the admin center, just make it easier for you to go through and work through, where it's not a bajillion options. You have to go through and figure out what makes sense for you, what doesn't make sense. And you're not going to have less features. It's just going to streamline stuff to make it easier for you to digest and figure out what actually makes the most sense for you to be able to go through and do. Other thing I'm going to call out is for government clouds. Exchange Online as a service is getting encryption for managed keys. So if you basically want to encrypt all your email traffic and stuff like that through MIP, you can basically upload your own keys if you're in the government clouds now, which I know for a lot of people is a big deal. If you're in the government clouds, you're probably having to do email encryption as some form of compliance. So being able to manage your own keys on that is something that I know a lot of companies will be really excited about.
Very cool. Well, then, if we're done here, we'll move on to Launched. And so there we go. So Launched, take us away, Tom. What do you see in Launched that you liked?
So again, much like I said last time, there's a whole lot of stuff here that we have talked about multiple times. So it's more a highlight of, yeah, you should be seeing this now. One that encompasses three, because it's pretty much the same thing on each of them, is the Microsoft Search being available in the online versions of Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. So that means you're going to get the search bar across the top, and it's going to be very similar to what you would see in SharePoint and your other things. So there's going to be some commonality there, which is good. The other thing I wanted to point out, which should now be in your tenants, and that is Whiteboard will now be available in Microsoft Team Rooms, which is really good because the original version of Whiteboard that they included in Teams was lacking just a little bit of feature parity of the actual Whiteboard app. So now bringing in Whiteboard, you're going to be able to do some of the things that really Whiteboard should be able to do, but you weren't able to do it in the old version because you just had this browser-based thing that was very, very low-key. Didn't give you a lot of things. So that's something to look for if you've been looking for whiteboards and you want to incorporate those, but you've been put off over the fact that it didn't work very well before. It now should work a whole lot better. So definitely check it out in your team rooms.
Great.
All right, Tamara, what do you have in Lunch that's awesome for you?
Well, Microsoft Teams got an awful lot of love in January. So Microsoft Teams, the approval in Teams came out in January. The together mode scenes. So when you have a larger group, you can put them in different backgrounds. It's not just the auditorium seating. Enhanced Power BI app for Teams is in preview. The Power BI stage view in chat is in preview. And the Power BI improved tab channel experience is in preview. So that's an improved look and feel and expanded view to see the visualization better. And also live captions for one-on-one calls. This is being enabled via the control bar in the call window. So that launched in January. So Teams got a ton of love in January.
Yeah. Well, I just have one, and then I'll pass it to Adam for our admin summary. But Microsoft List, undo and redo.
Love that one.
Love that.
I love those features. Undo and redo and cut and paste might be some of my most activities I ever do. Mm-hmm. So I'm a ninja with those activities.
These are a few of her favorite things.
It's truth. There's truth in that. So excited to have that there. So Adam, take us away with the admin-y things.
Yeah, so I'm not going to necessarily hit on a lot of them. As Tom said, a lot of the stuff we've talked about in previous things, and it'll just be like some small feature that you're now able to see that goes out. But there is one that's really cool that I think we've mentioned before, but it's now launched, so I wanted to kind of talk about it. It's the idea of data at rest encryption across the entire Microsoft 365. So before anyone misinterprets what I'm going to say, your data is already encrypted at rest. Don't worry. It's sitting on the back end of Office 365. They make sure that it's encrypted. It's not just sitting there in plain text. But you now have the ability as a customer, if you want to apply tenant-wide encryption to all of your data at rest with your own key, you can do that. So basically how it works, similar to what I was talking about in the last update, you can basically go through with your own key using customer managed keys and assign it to the tenant. Once you do that, they'll start encrypting all new data across the workloads for Teams files, Teams chat messages and group messages and channel conversations, media messages of everything going on in Teams, chat suggestions, things along those lines. So basically, in addition to what you're going through and seeing, Teams is basically being brought into the fold. Always SharePoint data and Exchange data was there. But if you wanted to go through and basically apply tenant-wide encryption, you have the option. I do think it's probably worth noting, if you're doing this for compliance reasons, they are rather explicit with their language that they say we will start encrypting all new data. So I'm guessing your previous data is not necessarily encrypted at rest. But if that's something you're going through and doing, just know once you turn that on, everything that you're doing in Teams then has an extra layer of protection on it that's through a key that you're managing, which is kind of cool.
Sweet.
Awesome.
One thing I did forget to mention, and this has come up as a request quite often. Unfortunately, it's not in GCC, GCC High, or DoD yet. And that is a shared calendar to a Teams channel. So creating and sharing a channel-specific calendar for members to view events. Teams automatically creates a new post when you create a team meeting or a channel meeting. You invite a channel to it, which will appear in the activity feed when a channel meeting is created. But also, any user who has notifications turned off will see the event only when they open the channel calendar. So it'll be a calendar for that particular channel as opposed to just having your individual calendar. So I think that's a big win.
Very cool.
Awesome. All right. Can you guys hear too much in my background noise?
It's not bad.
Okay. All right. Well, we have canceled items. We have one that I love it. It's canceled. And it says this feature has been postponed indefinitely and will be removed. And that is the Security and Compliance Center Advanced eDiscovery Delegated Access. And so they were working on a feature where they were going to let you delegate access to an eDiscovery incident, which the idea is that they were going to let you delegate access to your external counsel to let them come in and work on an eDiscovery case. I'm guessing somewhere in the process, they discovered that that was not a good idea, or it wasn't going to work, or somehow, some way, that was a no-no. And so that is going to be postponed indefinitely. It will be removed. Sometimes they're very clear on it. So that one is going away. That will not be happening. The other ones are duplicates, and they're just getting removed because they're merging, they're duplicates, so the other two don't matter. So if you are looking for eDiscovery delegated access, you will not be able to do that. If you want counsel in there, you're going to have to give them accounts and let them in there. So probably the way you should have been doing it anyway. So yeah. So, all right. That is, I think, our show for the week. So we will be back next week, I am sure, with more updates. We will be starting to see, I'm sure, more of the things from Viva hitting the roadmap. I just want to keep singing Viva Las Vegas. I keep hearing the Elvis song in my head.
Thank you very
but anyway,
much.
It's been a good week for Microsoft. Love seeing all the updates. We'll keep seeing them hit the roadmap, I'm sure. Everybody should be getting registered for Ignite. That's coming up in March. So that will be a great experience where I'm sure we'll hear also a ton more updates as well. So we'll see everybody next week with another recording. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.